Have you ever imagined that you could be reborn and your life would be linked to another person's life? If such a situation were to occur, would you choose to protect him closely or let him face danger? I recommend this reborn novel to you all. It's absolutely thrilling. In this reincarnation, whose fate will be tied to Wendy's? The message she received showed that the man would die at 7:30. A considerable amount of time had passed, and she had to catch up with the man as soon as possible. Suddenly, a loud crash was heard ahead as the man's car collided with a truck. Without hesitation, Wendy jumped out of the car and ran towards his car. He was lying motionless in the driver's seat. The person lying in the driver's seat was Dillon, the pilot for Eastern Airlines and the heir apparent of the Alba Consortium. In this reincarnation, Wendy's fate is tied to his life. Wendy's heart was tightly clenched as she stood in front of Dillon's window, desperately pounding on the glass and choking out his name. But Dillon had no response. The car was about to explode. So Wendy picked up a stone, smashed the car window forcefully, and forcibly opened the car door to take him out. After bringing Dillon out of the explosion zone, his body trembled slightly. He lay in Wendy's arms, weakly opened his eyes, took a glance at Wendy, and then passed out again. Wendy hugged Dillon tightly, and she is worried about his life. In the hospital ward, the comatose Dillon gradually stabilized and was out of danger. However, according to the doctor's diagnosis, he would suffer from amnesia. Wendy stood by the bed, gently observing Dillon's face, which was really handsome. She couldn't help but reach out her finger and gently poke his face. At that moment, Dillon slowly opened his eyes. He raised his hand and pointed to his mouth, asking Wendy to pour him some water. Wendy turned around, picked up a glass of water, and was about to give it to Dillon. But unfortunately, her foot got caught in a chair, and she stumbled and fell onto Dillon, spilling water all over him. Both of them blushed. Wendy apologized and got up, but Dillon held onto her hand tightly. At that moment, Dillon's butler suddenly pushed open the door, breaking the awkward situation. He saw that Dillon had woken up and breathed a sigh of relief. Dillon turned his head to look at the butler, then at the girl in front of him, very confused. He didn't recognize either of them. Wendy widened her eyes. She knew that Dillon was now in a state of amnesia, and this might be her chance to stay by his side and protect him. So she said without hesitation, "I am your girlfriend." Dillon furrowed his brow slightly. He felt a bit confused in his brain, but Wendy's words seemed to have caused ripples in his heart. He tried hard to recall, attempting to find some clues about this woman from the fragments of his memory. Dillon was puzzled by Wendy's claim that she was his girlfriend, but he remembered that she had pulled him out of the car, so he put aside his doubts. Wendy then told him that they were in a secret relationship that no one knew about. This surprised Dillon, but soon his expression became gentle. He leaned closer, his eyes half closed, as if he was about to kiss Wendy. Wendy's face turned red, her heart beating faster. She quickly pushed Dillon away, citing his recent recovery as a reason for him to rest. How will Wendy round out her lies? Stay tuned for our next exciting commentary. What would you do if many people falsely claimed to be your girlfriend and wanted to access your property after you lost your memory? Would you choose to believe one of them?
Let's see how the protagonist in this story makes his decision.
Suddenly the door of the hospital room opened, and a short-haired woman walked in, claiming to be Dillon's girlfriend. She was dressed elegantly, with a sly smile on her face. There was also a middle-aged man standing next to her, claiming to be the girlfriend's father. Wendy was startled, feeling her heart in disarray, afraid that her lies would be exposed. But Dillon suddenly sat up and pulled Wendy onto his lap. He gave a cold smile and said, "This is my girlfriend." Wendy's face turned red, and she looked into Dillon's eyes, feeling her heart trembling. She knew that in Dillon's heart, she was the only real girlfriend. Wendy quickly realized what was going on, and told Dillon that these two people were trying to scam him. They knew he had amnesia, so they pretended to be his girlfriend in order to claim his family fortune. When their scheme was exposed, they became angry and accused Wendy of being a fake as well. But Dillon immediately defended Wendy, pointing out the flaws in the short-haired woman and the man's story. It was obvious to him that they were both imposters. Upon hearing Dillon defend her, Wendy felt immensely grateful and happy, but at the same time, she was also worried about what would happen when Dillon recovered and found out about her lies. So she made up her mind to find an opportunity to tell Dillon the truth. Faced with Dillon's defense, the father and daughter turned red with embarrassment. Dillon glared at them in anger and shouted, "My girlfriend doesn't want to see you. Please leave." After saying this, he turned to look at Wendy. At this moment, Wendy furrowed her brows, afraid that Dillon had discovered that she was a fake girlfriend, and would be angry with her like he was with the father and daughter. Wendy was slightly taken aback, but then she gathered her courage and grabbed Dillon's hand, solemnly telling him to trust her, and that she was willing to give everything for him. Dillon smiled slightly, patted Wendy's head to comfort her, and said that no matter what happens, he would believe in her, support her, and face future challenges together with her. The next morning, warm sunlight shone through the curtains and into the hospital room. Wendy was lying next to Dillon's bed, tightly holding his hand as he was immersed in a sweet dream. The atmosphere in the ward was very quiet, with only Dillon's regular breathing and the chirping of birds outside the window. At this moment, Wendy's phone suddenly rang, breaking the peace. She picked up her phone and saw a message about picking up the lawyer's business card and bill. Wendy quickly went downstairs, picked up these items, and walked confidently towards the Wien mansion. She was determined to come back this time and take back everything that belonged to her and her family. When Wendy arrived at Wien Manor, what she saw was a dream-like estate that still retained the memories of her childhood. At the entrance of the estate, as she walked into the estate, she saw the toys and gardens that had accompanied her through countless happy times, and every place reminded her of those beautiful memories. She walked into the hall, where a huge crystal chandelier hung from the high ceiling, sparkling with beautiful light in the sunshine. The butler told her that the master was still busy and asked her to wait in the hall for a moment. As she waited, she stood in the center of the hall, and the memories of conflicts from 9 years ago flashed through her mind like a slideshow. 9 years ago, Wendy's mother gave birth to 2 sons with mental illness, which was diagnosed by doctors as a hereditary factor. Mr. Wien was very angry and believed that the hereditary disease was brought into the Wien family by Wendy's mother, completely ignoring that this disease was uncontrollable. He heartlessly demanded that she take the 2 sons and Wendy and roll out of the house, without any concern for how they would survive. What means will Wendy use to retaliate against her father for his wrongdoings? Stay tuned for our next exciting commentary. If you have been abandoned by your biological father for over a decade without receiving a penny in child support, the betrayal and helplessness you feel must make you feel despair and anger. At this point, would you choose to give up or take action bravely, Let's take a look at how the female protagonist in this rebirth novel deals with it. After being kicked out of the house, their lives fell into endless darkness. Over the years, Mr. Ween had never given them a penny or fulfilled his obligation to support them. This time, she came to the mansion to demand everything that rightfully belonged to her and her brothers from the villain who abandoned his family. With these thoughts in mind, Wendy couldn't sit still. She tightly held the business card and bills and barged into the room where Mr. Ween was. In the room, a boy was playing the piano. He was the son of Mr. Ween and his current wife. Suddenly the door pushed open, and a young girl walked in. She went to the piano, clapped her hands and sneered. "Chopin's G minor Polonaise. You played a little better than my brother did when he was 4 years younger than you." Mr. Ween and his wife were stunned, and their son Aurelius angrily retorted for being compared to someone with a mental illness. Wendy stood with her hands on her hips and bluntly stated that she would rather be a person with a mental illness than be a mediocre person. Mr. Ween's wife couldn't sit still and quickly protected her son and scolded Wendy for not shouldering the responsibility of saying such things to children. Suddenly, Mr. Ween slammed the table hard and cursed. "You uneducated bastard! Get out of here! And I never want to see you again!" Wendy instantly had no expectations for this father and coldly reassured him that she came here today to settle all debts and would not need to see him again after that. Mr. Ween stated that he had never owed anything to Wendy's family and there was nothing to repay. Wendy's gaze towards her father turned icy, her anger boiling inside her. She had silently carried the burden of caring for her family for years, while her father remained aloof and uncaring. Her fury erupted like a volcano as she picked up the bill from the table, determined to fight for her family's rights. Clenching the bill tightly in her hand, her nails digging into the paper, her eyes sharpened like knives as she flung the bill onto the table and told him in a furious tone that he had never fulfilled his duty to support them and he owed them a total of $2 million. Her words were full of rage and resentment, causing her father to feel intimidated and scared. When he heard these words, Mr. Ween's emotions quickly reached their peak and he felt his heart beating wildly. His face turned red, his lips tightened, and his eyes flickered with anger. He gripped the edge of the table tightly, his body tensed as if he would burst with anger at any moment. He couldn't control his actions, grabbed the bill on the table, and threw it towards Wendy with force, telling her in no uncertain terms that she wouldn't receive a penny. Wendy felt a moment of despair when the bill hit her, but she quickly regained her composure and placed the lawyer's business card on the piano keys. "If you have any objections, please contact my lawyer. We can meet in court," she said, and then walked out of the room gracefully. Wendy's heart feels very heavy, and this struggle has left her exhausted. She knows that this is not an easy battle, and she must make a lot of effort to win. She carries a huge responsibility on her shoulders, and must fight for her own and her family's rights. But she also knows that this is what she should do, and she will never compromise. She is determined to stand firmly on her own position and move forward courageously, no matter how difficult the road ahead may be. How will Wendy regain her property? Follow us and wait for the next exciting commentary.